Hey, do you ever have a hard time setting a goal? The truth is, it's not your fault. What I find in working with a lot of leaders is that the reason we struggle to set the kind of goals that we end up achieving is because of the way we learned goal setting. And so, what I want to do in this video is I want to walk you through some common mistakes that good leaders make when it comes to setting goals. If that's helpful for you, then stick around and I'll help you out in the next few minutes. Hey, it's Matt from Pastors and Preachers. So good to see you. Thank you again so much for the opportunity to help you enjoy living faithfully and leading fruitfully. We're talking goal setting today, and this is actually the second in a four-part series as we try to set you up for success in 2019. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, would encourage you to do so because it's going to notify you as soon as each episode comes out in this series. Then all the subsequent videos we create to help you out, and you'll be the first to know when a brand new video pops up. So go ahead and do that now if you haven't done it already. I want to talk a little bit about something that I've learned over the past several years with my private clients. And we have several coaching programs in Pastors and Preachers, but I have a private client group, which is a group of pastors and preachers that I work with one-on-one. And one of the things that I've noticed over the past couple of years as we've been working together is that there's a distinguishing factor between the guys that I'm working with who I think are really thriving and those that are kind of struggling to keep up. And it really starts with the way that they set goals. And so this is something that we end up doing a lot of correction with our private clients. And so I just want to point out some of the things that I end up having to kind of come in and correct their form. If we were kind of thinking like personal training, I did that in the past too, that when it comes to just getting their form right when it comes to setting goals. And so let's talk about 5 mistakes that good leaders make in setting goals. The first mistake is this, making annual goals. I think that's a massive mistake when you're setting goals because there's so much that can happen between now and 12 months from now. So just do a little rewind from where you were a year ago. And think about the changes that have happened in your life personally or professionally, and how many of those were things that you couldn't anticipate. And so making an annual goal to me just seems a little bit crazy because you really are going to spend a lot of energy on something that you really don't have a lot of control on. That's the first mistake. The second mistake that I see when it comes to goal setting is simply trying to create too many goals. That what we see far too often, especially if you're brand new to goal achievement, if you're trying to keep up with 5, 7, 10 goals, that's way too much. You really need to reduce that significantly in order to give yourself an actual chance to succeed. It's just so hard to keep up with so many things, so many balls juggling in the air. So I'd rather you just focus on 1 or 2 goals initially so that you can actually learn the process and system of not only goal setting, but goal achievement. So people have way too many. They tend to be too vague. That's the third mistake that people make. Leaders just set I want my church to grow. I want us to have more money for ministry. I'd like to lose some weight. I'd like to spend more time with my wife. And when you have those kind of vague goals, it really doesn't tell you what success looks like. So if you have 2 more people on average showing up in your church on a weekend, was that success? What if you really wanted to see that be like 20 more or 200 more or whatever that number is? So go ahead and clarify what success looks like for you, and don't make your goals so vague. The fourth mistake that people make is that they don't really give a range of outcomes that they'd be happy with. Far too often, we try to come up with this one magic number that defines success. So we want to grow our church by X percent. What happens if you like, I want to see us grow our church by 10% this year. Well, what happens if it's 5? Was that disappointing? Was it a failure? We want to bring in 25% more revenue this next year. Well, what happens if it's 15? Is that a failure? Or losing weight, like you want to lose 25 pounds, but what happens if that's 20? So because you only have one magic number that, quite honestly, it's really difficult to pin down, and it doesn't necessarily define success for you alone, then I think without a range of outcomes, you're really setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. And then finally, the fifth mistake that leaders make is they don't make it, you can't see it. They don't make it visual. There isn't anything they've written down. There's not a reminder on their phone or anything like that. And so those mistakes contribute significantly to a bad set of goals that when we set out to try to achieve them, the end result is that we don't end up focusing on what matters most and we don't actually make that happen. And so here's what I'd love for you to do. I'd love for you to get in the comments below. And if you struggle to set goals, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me what your struggle is in goal setting. It may be, hey, I'm not wired that way in terms of my personality. I always struggle to find that one magic number. Whatever it is, go in the comments below and just let me know what your biggest struggle is in goal setting, and then I'll jump in and help you out. We'll talk a little bit. But let me actually do this. Let me kind of carve a better way forward when it comes to goal setting, and just give you 5 ways that you can succeed at goal setting if you've ever struggled in the past. Number one, instead of an annual goal, set goals for 90 days. Now, you and I can't guarantee what's going to happen in the next 90 minutes, much less the next 90 days, but we have a much better chance at understanding and controlling 90 days than we do 1 year. So set goals for 90 days. It's something that I have been doing for multiple years now, and I do with my clients, and I find that's the best range of time if you're going to consistently be successful in achieving your goals. Number 2, instead of setting all kinds of goals, I want you to just set 1 or 2 goals if you're just getting into the work of goal achievement. If you have a little bit more experience, then there's a process that we call goal avalanching, where you take time to just brainstorm all the things that you could set a goal for, and then I only want you to choose 20% of those. So let's imagine that you come up with a list of 10 things that you could measure. I just want you to set goals for 2. This really comes back to the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle that says 20% of the things you focus on are going to produce 80% of the value. So I find with my clients that when we really reduce the number of goals that you're working on, that we find that we increase your overall value and success rate, and quite honestly, either your level of joy and happiness, because you're really succeeding in a couple of places that really matter most. The third thing that I want you to do is, instead of just trying to find one magic number, I want you to take that one thing that you're measuring. Let's imagine that it's, church growth or losing weight or something like that. And I want you to give yourself a range of outcomes: a good outcome, a better outcome, and a best outcome. A good outcome is something that you'd be happy with. It was worth your time. A better outcome would be just that. It would be a little bit better than good. And then a best one is kind of one of those, well, I'm going to jump on top of the roof and I'm going to shout to the rooftops about how excited I am. It's kind of that one that gives you kind of a dream, sort of an ambition. Let's dream big and go for it. Those are great. But I want to have a range of outcomes that would allow me to say, hey, this was good. It may not have been as good as everything that I wanted it to be, but it was something, and it was worth the time and the energy that I invested here. The fourth thing that I want to do here is I want to make sure that in my goals that I want to do everything I can to visualize what I'm doing here, okay? I want to make sure that I'm writing these things down. I want to make sure that whether it's around my laptop, it's a sticky note near my screen, it's a reminder on my phone that comes up every day, I want to visualize the goal that I'm after in the next 90 days. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I don't allow this to be too vague. This is sort of the check in the back end, that I want to make sure that when we're doing this, I want to figure out what is it that I can measure that actually matters. So, am I measuring the outcome of my goal, or am I measuring progress? There's a lot of things that we do as pastors and preachers. If you think about, I want to grow in my preaching or my prayer, well, how are you going to measure the outcome of your preaching or your praying? So what I want to do is I want to measure the progress that I'm making. I want to measure the process that I'm engaging in. Like what, I want to be done preparing my sermons by Thursday, or I want to spend an hour every morning praying for the people in my church. Whatever that is, you're measuring something specifically that matters in the process of getting towards reaching that goal. So those are the kind of things that I'm after, just 5 things that I would say, here's a better way forward when it comes to setting goals. So you may have been taking notes there. Hope that was helpful. But here's one thing that really, I think, if you want to get better results faster in not only setting goals, but achieving your goals, go into the description below, and I actually created a checklist that you can download. And this is kind of my proven system for really being able to figure out what matters most in the next 90 days, and how do I actually make that happen? And so this is something that I have done personally, time and time again. This is basically the steps that I work through with all my private clients. time and time again, and it works. And so, if that would be helpful for you, then go ahead and download that now and grab that. And I know it'll work for you as well. And if this was helpful for you in any way, shape, or form today, I would love it if you would go ahead and like this video and subscribe to this channel. That's going to just give us an opportunity to just continue to build a relationship here as we have these conversations week in and week out as we release a brand new video. And I'd love it if you'd share it with somebody else that you really believe would be helped by this, especially this time of the year when we're releasing this and it's really jumping in from 2018 to 2019. This would be a great time for you to share this with somebody else that you care about, somebody else who would benefit from doing a really good job at setting goals for 2019. And if there was anything in particular that was helpful, I would love for you to jump in the comments below and tell me about that. What stood out to you? What was brand new that you had never heard before? What did I kind of reinforce or say in a different way that really helped you clarify something? Or you could just write helpful in the comments below too, and that would be good as well. So again, it's such a privilege to be able to do these videos for you and to create this and all the content we create at Pastors and Preachers to be able to help you enjoy living faithfully and leading fruitfully. And so I'll see you on the next video. And until then, God bless you and take care.